Hey everybody, welcome back to the second game of the best of 5 of the Bootcamp Elite Tournament Finals. Once again, I'm here with Putin and Little Villain. I nearly said two different names.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Like I said, game 2, Greyhound versus Krot. We have here Greyhound's deck, who is playing Eurocore Motorized. Okay.
Very,
Yes.
very unpleasant deck to play against, to be honest.
Yes, I very much agree. Also, hold up, before we go any further, I have to say, the two Recon AMXNs have different veterancy.
I'm pretty sure a few people do that.
This is hurting my.
Sure.
This is just hurting me. I hate it. I hate it when I have in my deck the exact same unit twice and it has different veterancies. It just hurts my.
Doesn't
eyes.
Boulanger have the same? Also two different veterancies on AMX10s?
I think so too. Or maybe it was Genghis Wars, I don't know. I think the most prominent unit where you actually see that is the Q Maroshiki, but we are digressing. Yeah, but the Eurocore Motorized, especially makes the whole AMX10 and Tiger issue even more noticeable. And very much relies on these units even more, and it's gonna hurt even more.
Yes, aside from that, you have Erixes flying from every corner, Deadly Melans, Terminators erasing your infantry from the towns, and also the BGS in a big transport just to sponge every AA
Yeah, it's basically the main reason, like Putin said, is basically just to sponge missiles. You get this is probably the cheapest 10 HP helicopter you can get, I assume. I don't know.
I think so, yeah. There is no way to get this cheaper.
Like there's not a lot of 10 HP helicopters in the game in the first place. There's like the Heinz, the Chinook, the CH-53s, the K-29s. I think those might be all of them.
Yeah, so this comes in with the 10-point infantry, so for 30 points you have a flying sponge. You don't even need to unload the BGS.
Mm-hmm. And then of course, the biggest thing is of course you don't get the Mara 2s and you don't get the Leclerc and the Leopard 2 line, especially the 2A4. Those are probably the most noticeable tanks in Eurocore. But that Recon tab is just gonna be so strong, so incredibly strong, and the Tiger with the veterancy. AMXNs are never gonna miss anything, and you still obviously get the same strong air type. And once again, just like Krot, Greyhound running the IDS.
And both low-end ASFs.
I mean, KWS is, not necessarily low-end, but the 2x planes on high veterancy.
Yeah, I want to just highlight that neither one is opting for a Rafale.
Yeah, usually you see the Rafale very often. I think these days the Rafale is mostly a counter to like 2 armor planeswap, so against like US and USSR. I think that's where you see it most. I think against other decks, you're probably still better off with these because they just offer more flexibility.
Sure.
I mean, other than that, he's actually, I feel like he's pretty light on infantry. He has three utility infantry. Deckungsgrupper, even 4 if you count the Deckungsgruppe, because they're obviously not like normal infantry. And other than that, only Chasseur and the BAP T20, Legion 9 and the Fallschirmjäger 90. Not a lot of stuff really.
Well, but essentially, he's not going to be making the meat assaults, right?
Yeah.
His infantry is still expensive, so there will be no meat assault at all, and there is no really need for that amount of infantry. And I think towns are all his, right? With the Fallschirmjäger, with the Legion 90, nobody can contest this effectively in the towns. And everything else will be covered by MXs and planes, helicopters. We'll see which map it will be, actually.
I don't know. I think something like Baltic Front could still very much, depending on how it is built, of course, be able to contest towns if you spam it with the cheap Polish shocks and have a Eurogun or something behind. I just think that still having like a cheap all-round infantry squad, like Jäger are not great anymore, but like still in a Fuchs and motorized upwetted, they're still very, very solid. So
upwetted base Legion are also pretty nice in infantry fights.
I mean, yeah, your shock infantry you can get on elite now, which is a massive boost as a veteran to elite. Is like the biggest jump or like biggest bonus for most accuracy values, I believe. So yeah, that is quite nice. And of course, another thing against the Euro actually helps the veterancy, the high veterancy, massively reduce the amount of time they are stunned if it comes to that. Cesar one on Elite. You don't get the LRM, of course.
You mentioned Uragan. I assume Krot's deck.
I honestly don't even know what Krot's deck is. But,
So let's take a look at it.
Yeah, let's
So
take a look
we-
at it. Oh, hold up.
Perspective
Does
for the
he?
matchup.
Does he have? Oh no, he doesn't have a VAP T20 left, right? Yeah. Otherwise, I would have found it surprising to not choose the Commandos Para and the VAP T20 because they're still very solid fighting infantry, especially for like relatively low price. But
Yeah, and you can take them at least.
and yeah, the infantry CV also not coming in thing. And this is mech. Okay,
Oh.
blue mech for Krot
And you can see the LRM, so the veterancy will come in handy.
for sure.
Unless he spends his time striking the fob again.
Yeah, but this deck, of course, blue mech is incredibly strong, but especially the way this specific blue mech is built, incredibly weak in towns. No shock infantry whatsoever in this deck. So if it comes down to town fighting, especially big towns where you can't make as much use of direct fire support, he's gonna have some big troubles.
I mean, this is my mech.
This is literally yours?
Yeah, this is literally mine from about 1.5 years ago. Just the one difference is he's using Zeldas. I was using my rifleman already back then.
Mm-hmm.
Base rifle spam. He has opted for Zeldas. Other than that, you see you have the Deagle. Yeah, instead of Kurnas. He has the Axarites also. I'm using infantry series as well instead of that. Masayat, I dropped that card a very long time ago, and I opted. Yeah, a Rifleman 90. I'm still using them to this day. So it is literally my deck.
I think especially the Recon tab is very unique to yours. I don't see anyone running this type of Recon tab with Gazelle and Scout Defender.
Yeah, this is literally my deck with a little tweak and with the Zeldas. That's it. I was running the Messiah in Merkava a long time ago. That's when the deck was copied. And yeah.
But yeah, in Forest, of course, this is just gonna straight up shit on Yuriko Motorized if I had to guess. Like Helen in very small place, it's gonna be very tough to deal with this. But I don't actually know what the map is.
In the deep towns, you can actually outswarm enemy with those Zeldas. You can do that. They are extremely good fire support, even against flash makers. You can
True,
demolish.
But at the same time, if Greyhound spams if whenever he uses chasseurs and like keeps those VAP T20s behind and then saves them for exactly that occasion, he has a way to kind of counter them at close range, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, so we are up for an interesting match.
It very much should be.
Let me guess. I haven't watched which map it will be, but I would guess Nuclear Winter.
Nuclear Winter.
Or Nuclear Winter or Hell in a very small
I mean,
place.
Hell is probably plunging would yeah.
I'd probably guess plunging.
Plunging would also be incredibly good for this deck. Plunging or Hell is my guess. It's Nuclear Winter.
Wow. Well done. Well done, Putin.
I haven't watched it. I honestly haven't watched it.
Well, why do you think Nuclear Winter? I'm actually curious.
Because this is a very infantry-centric map. You can see all the Alpha, Charlie, India, Foxtrot, Delta, all the pointers that are valuable. Everywhere you have a lot of opportunity.
Oh, hello? Putin?
Putin seems to have cut out for a bit.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
I mean, I think his message is quite clear. Since there is going to be a few...
Yeah, he just left the voice. We're just gonna continue for now and let him join. And just let the deployment run and hope he joins before it ends. He's back. He's back. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Well, we can't hear you. Infantry centric for sure. But what I was considering though is because it's obviously such a big map and a large map with a long distance we have to travel in the opener, especially.
Guys, I think I'm back.
Yes, you're back. Hi.
Welcome back.
We're saying it's very infantry heavy, which is certainly the case. So obviously having to cover a lot of ground is very nice for mech with all the cheap stuff. And Chumats to basically shut down any kind of vehicle for a while in the zones. But at the same time, it's also a very big map, right? Especially on the other side of the river. Motorized can just outspeed the opponent, obviously. And with so many 2-pointers, if Krot doesn't get a good grab in the early game, then Greyhound could get like a really early conquest point lead, and then just try to win off of that and you know, play defensively for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and interestingly, the map does feature both pretty big towns the Moro can hunker down in, and a few sizable
That will be
forests.
the Delta.
Yeah, Delta for sure.
And in Delta, I would say I prefer to have a Greyhound's position, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other, because there's a if Krot will have to retreat, he will have to only a very small patch of a forest. No, not that a super small patch, but a small amount of forest to work with to put the CV in the Delta, which is also always a good place to
Yeah, and
bombard and artillery. And
that
off we go.
and with especially with a big patch of with a big river, it's very easy to just park your tiger there, and it's not immune but hard to kill unless the enemy has a helo hunter or something like that ready. So
Speaking of tiger, what's the deployment looking like?
yeah, I was just gonna say that
A
no
few
tiger,
more pirates, but no tiger.
2 pure pirates. I mean, I assume what Grant is thinking that there's nothing really that he has to, you know, he doesn't need to protect the pirates, so he doesn't feel like the need of a tiger. I still would have liked to see a gazelle cannon, which I actually don't remember if he had it in his deck, just to spot where, like, what's going on in the opener. But yeah, there's like no threat for the pirates really. There could be cobras, but I guess that he's thinking that that Krot is thinking that there will be a tiger, and thus there won't be any cobras, which means that Greyhound doesn't actually need a tiger, you know. So that may be the thought process here.
I mean, definitely this in the finals usually there is very many metagaming.
Yeah, a lot of mind
going.
games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, by the looks of it, Greyhound very heavy on the other side of the river. I assume that only this VAP T20 and the Puma Pirate are gonna be on this side. Krot kind of similar, but definitely placing a lot more points on this side here. Scout Defender, Manpad, LTGM, Zelda, MX10. Some light defenses. I assume that he might try to put them into this forest down there. And 2 Rodents, 2 K1s, Zeldas. Definitely scared of those Peace Rhines plus Tiger combos, I assume, which is why he wants that early air defense network.
Understandable why you'd be scared of that.
And yeah. Lots of MX10s, of course. But yeah, see what's going on.
Yeah, let's see where the main Greyhound opener is going for the Delta, it seems.
Way slow deployment from Krot. Took him 12 seconds to start moving these units. I really dislike seeing that because, in my opinion, you should always just select all your units and fast move them in a general area where to go and then give them the thing.
True. Thankfully,
that saves
the map
you
is
some
so
time.
large, and this is an offline that I don't think it will come in.
I mean, yeah, it very rarely actually is a thing, but there's always like rarely like these situations where it can actually matter, and then you're annoyed.
Just saying at this moment, I already prefer the Greyhound opener just by the disposition of points. He has majority of the points going for the Delta, the Delta area, while Krot is investing really a lot into India defense. Might be an overinvestment.
And if that Puma Pirates manages to unload, which is there's no given for that. And interesting. I would definitely immediately go for the town and unload there because it gives you cover to work with. Because if you unload there in the open,
the threat with the scout defender, you know, just landing it too far on you.
But like the pirate has to turn to shoot with its gun, so it doesn't even do 1 damage, right? So far. And Greyhound noticed, but the scout defender just firing position there because if the helicopter hovers low, it doesn't have to land, but if it hovers low, you can kill it with fire precision HE guns.
Thankfully, Krot unloaded the Mistral out of range. Pirate should be safe.
I think if he unloaded into town, I think he would have definitely.
Yeah, if you save. Well, if Krot would have brought his Mistral all the way up to the town, he would have punished that.
I mean, at least he saved the pirate and the infantry squad, so he didn't lose it.
So we see early purchase of Akzarit on the Ivan, or India. And the town in Delta is Greyhounds. Does he have enough ATGMs there?
He doesn't have any ATGMs there other than the Fuchs Milans. He has Deckungsgruppe. That's about it. He has an ATGM squad here and AD Eric squad. Also doesn't look like any ATGM coming for now. Just Sirs as well, lots of them.
As the as the Krot doesn't have enough infantry, he might not be able to take it, but really, with those 2 K1s, he's possessing a big threat to those open fields, and Greyhound has nothing to contest it.
Yeah, if Greyhound had just one Milan 2 squad in the town, he could have really punished that because there's no smoke, no mortar whatsoever from Krot.
At the same time, he can just retreat further into the town.
I mean, yes.
And make K1.
I think that's also what he's gonna do, right? I think
Yeah.
he already is.
You just bait the infantry into the town and then the K1s can't fire at you.
Exactly, yeah.
Still though, like Milan 2 or at least 2 Milan school squads for sure would have been free kills on those K1s, and it's 180 points gone.
Definitely. Again, Krot going for early SF purchase.
2 CVs coming out from Greyhound as well. Both cheap CVs, so LRM can be very effective at sniping CVs here. As Motorized has access to like no. Do they have access to the Leopard 1 tank CVs? I honestly don't know. I don't think they do, right? They're definitely not. They're definitely not in Greyhound's tank, but I don't know if he had the choice. Roland's turned off. I wonder, or not anymore. They were turned off earlier. I wonder if Greyhound had seed in his side deck, because it's always good to check the deck, because the participants had to send in the decks beforehand as well as side decks, which they can switch out units from. So it's always good to check that to know whether your opponent could bring seed, and if he can't, then it's obviously a massive boost to your air defense network, especially if you use in the previous game automatics.
While we still haven't gone too far away from that, Moto does not have access to Leopard 1 CVs.
And yeah, so probably no tank CVs whatsoever. Those 3 Deckenscope squads, I think they're gonna get loaded into the VAP D20s to be retreated and repaired. That's really the big issue with them, is they have so low HP that if there's any fire support out there, they can only very little, like only shoot for a little amount of time and not tank enough to finish off those infantry squads.
That being said, if he manages to repair them, that's a lot of points saved.
Obviously that's a lot of value saved as well, yeah. Around with a +2 and a Kasapi near Foxtrot, probably just to protect it from any AMX 10 or something driving down the road, which is also actually quite dangerous that he just keeps it there. Because again, from this area it's very easy to spot. There is the Kasapi, of course, defending, but still it's a bit risky. A pirate killing the KM900 transport, but still just everything only around Delta going on. Achzarid again. Gonna be hard to snipe for sure.
I don't think Greyhound is gonna go for that, to be honest.
No, but I mean, in the event that he would have to go for it,
yes.
It's gonna take a long time to snipe with something like a SSR. And that's some defensive smoke coming out from Greyhound to protect his Valchemiga from the K1s, which is also why you don't want to smoke the town when you're attacking it, even if there's ATGM squads inside for the most part.
Exactly.
Unless you know there's nothing except for those ATGM squads, but if your deck relies a lot on direct fire support, like Blue Mech really does, you don't want to do that. But of course, it's Greyhound doing it. Did we lose Putin again? Hello?
I'm here. I just
okay.
Connection is somewhat up and down, up and down. Very interesting positions of a CV from Greyhound, right? Just on the road in the open.
I assume that it's the only reason that I could think of is it's based out for 1, unless of course Krot has line of sight. It's not the most obvious position, but 2, if there's an LRM coming in, you can also very quickly retreat it because it's directly on the road, just has to turn around and fast move away.
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable. But it's still, you don't see that often.
Yeah.
That being said, he does control basically both of the bridges and all of the roads coming into Foxtrot for now.
Yeah, for now. He just has to make sure that if he loses control to move to CV as well.
Yes, exactly.
We have a Delta CV Axarit coming from Grot into Delta.
And the Mirage circling to protect those K1s as well. Very heavy on the air defense. We haven't seen a single plane from Greyhound so far, so 2 Rolands and a Mirage is certainly...
Well, 2 Mistrals in India as well.
But no AA in Charlie so far. Doesn't really need it, but a Tiger is against a Tiger, surely. LRM being bought and SSR on Greyhound side.
Such good sync between the players.
really just a stalemate. I think Krot hasn't bought any reinforcements here so far, right? The 4.
Yes, he lost like 4 squads of Rovate and
Yeah,
hasn't
that's
really
it.
bought anything.
Very, very light on defense here. Also, nothing here that could fend off these commanders that are moving there, right? With a bit of smoke in this area, then he would really just move them up. But of course,
then
he
again,
doesn't
Greyhound
know.
doesn't know that.
Yeah, of course he doesn't know. But it's a risk that so far is really paying off.
It's strange again. Like the second game, we are witnessing Krot purchasing very strange units while he is kind of weak on the ground still, right? And Greyhound being not able to capitalize on it because the lack of tanks, as you remember the previous one.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, in this case, the lack of tanks is more of a dex problem than.
Now it's deck problem, yes, but still.
Oh, here we go with LRM strike, and the CV Foxtrot has been moved.
Is it really going for a FOB or a CV?
It must be going. I mean, for one, it's a relatively obvious foul position, but it could also just be going. Oh no, it's going for the CV actually. Oh my goodness.
It's going for the CV.
And he's buying a second LRM, by the way.
Yeah, guys.
Oh, this is the smoke as well. So he's definitely. Oh no, he might also just be protecting his infantry that he wants to push up there. There's the Milans. Again, still no mortar to protect those K1s, and that's one Milan hit. But now they're out of range.
That LRM strike was precisely on the road, which makes me wonder what did he spot the CV?
No, it was on the town.
For the town, I see, yeah.
What's going on down there? Commander Spada missed an Arak shot on the K. If he hits the second one, infantry is still a bit alive. Not a bit left over. Everything being pushed out, just the Artillerie. Does Krot spot anything? Nope. Those Susek Day have no line of sight.
Good
a bit of line of sight.
Good smoke by Bilan, definitely.
Oh, and fast moving Vivat T20s with Deckungsgruppe.
But those are still damaged Deckungsgruppe, right?
No, they're repaired.
They're repaired. Nice.
Yeah.
I missed
this
that.
might actually wipe.
They're not too good against K1s. They only do 1.5 damage per shot. And they have 5 HP, and with those 2 MGs. But there's also some AMX sense. As long as they don't get like singled out and attack really at the same time, then those K1s should be dead.
Yeah, the K1s are damaged, and there are 3 Deckungsgruppe, which is something.
Roland going for the Mirage. Oh, one shot. No second shot. But that's the problem with not having any reinforcements. The CV really will probably die if it's not getting retreated. But there's the second LRM coming with the strike. It's very crucial, and this is what was missing from the first game.
Striking units with the LRM actually.
Yeah, and this one Deckungsgruppe squad is still out in the open, so it will take full damage if it gets hit. And now it's in the forest. Yeah, those Fallschirmjäger 90 should not really be stopped from getting in there. Maybe one squad will die, but I don't think they'll get stunned before.
Okay, so that
LRM will have line of sight, do they?
Yeah.
No.
There we go. And with those Susek Day dead. Oh, it's getting choppy. There's some Zelda spam coming in.
That LRM squad strike did kill one Deckungsgruppe and one MX-10, which is not nothing.
Certainly. And it also just slowed him down.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure those Deckungsgruppe could have just continued moving up, like just next to the road. But I assume that Greyhound doesn't expect there to be the CV without any defense, which is why he doesn't want to push them up. So again, risky play that is paying off for Krot. Fallschirmjäger actually leaving the town, retreating. I'm not sure. I think with some good smoke play, that definitely could have, I think, held on against those 4 Zeldas. If he manages to kill them, or some of them, or force them to unload in front of the town. That could have been very risky. Milan losing line of sight on the K1s. Yeah, against panicked and low HP squads there, the K1s will just have no issue with CV. LRM once again trying to go for the CV snipe, but the CV is an infantry squad in the town. K1 very low, the other one's still on half HP, but also running low on fuel. Just like the Abrams, it's not something that you want to ignore. 2 Brandis tanks, not a tank you see very often either. Opting for that 1 extra front armor and the lack of a stabilizer over the 1F5 with more RPM.
Also slightly faster, 70 kmh against 65.
And the autocannon, of course, in case people don't know, cannot fire at the same time as the main gun. So only one can fire at one time. Something to
most of the
keep in
time
mind.
you're really gonna only use autocannon against helicopters. Which
You
is
can
so nice.
you can be very cheeky and turn off your main gun just after you fired in like a forest fight or something, but given all the aiming
to do
times
80 gym
etc.,
trick
it's
with an
just
autocannon, yes.
plus with the 11 armor, unless you're like playing against like only rifleman spam, you don't really want to do that in forests anyways.
It's also a very unusual autocannon because it's a coaxial autocannon actually.
Yeah.
It is.
I don't know if it's well represented in the game, but in reality, it's a coaxial. That's why
It is represented in the game precisely because it cannot fire while at the same time as the main gun.
Same with the Beam P3 and the Beam PT.
My most concern would be the angles where it can fire and where it can.
Oh, you mean like whether it can shoot on the back while the main gun is actually still looking forward? The Artillerie is spotted, by the way. Sorry. Or is it? Yeah, it is. On half HP.
Question is, does Greyhound
Ooh, 1 HP, 17 AP is not enough to two-shot it. You need 18 AP to two-shot it.
That scissor strike was right on point.
Oh, yes! All those sellers were only firing at the front Fuchs, right? The one in the back was actually still calm. The mayo. It is quite hilarious, really. And Krot, I don't know if he was not paying attention or he got fooled by all those crits appearing on the Milans, thinking it would be safe. But once again, only one of those Milans was actually affected by those crits and was getting panicked by those Zeldas.
A bit of a skirmish going on in the town just below Delta. A squad of Legion dying to those raids.
I mean, against infantry moving out in the open, of course, Lions are just still very good in towns. Just actually CQC town fighting, etc. Lions struggle most of the time. Still very light defenses. MX-10 could, of course, Greyhound doesn't know what's there, but if it for some reason drove down that road and then went down into this forest, and it could sneakily get something done. But I think also the fact that both are busy here means that neither of them is really focusing too much on somewhere else. And just as I say that Greyhound buys 3 VAP T20s while he's trying to snipe the LRMs. One got hit for 6 damage and is panicked. Doesn't look like Greyhound is getting the snipe done. Chumat's barely missing the second one or losing line of sight. There we see it, the main gun being turned off for the autocannon usage. 1K1 went down, presumably to those Milans, or maybe earlier, I wasn't paying attention. Oh no, never mind, they're probably still back there, and this one is just low on HP. Once again, with 17 armor against 24 AP. At full HP, you still need 3 shots to deal to kill a K1. 224 AP missiles will deal 4.5 damage each.
A fresh artillery coming for Delta.
I mean, yeah, he has to. Because he is still unsuccessful with sniping CVs, and Greyhound is taking.
I will have to say that if he loses the infantry that's right now out in the open, the whole situation can get repeated.
I mean, that infantry is standing there almost as good as dead, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's nothing really protecting them. No fire support shooting back at us, fire shooting again.
Some of it back to the forest, but I'm not sure how much of it will escape.
Mirage so far still kind of a dead unit, although I think one other reason to have it out is just to spot for a potential sneaky tiger trying to fly around the river. Cassiope and Puma Pirate moving up. There's 3 VAP T20s and 3 MX-13s, so I think this is probably a good thing to do, because if it comes really down to long grind, Mech deck really is better in Delta. Or like in general, just on focused bushes with all the cheap spam and with the LRMs behind. It's just so far that Krot hasn't really utilized the units to their best potential, full potential. 2 LRM strikes, once again CV sniping. One is on point, finally, but sniping CV infantry in towns, you always have to get a bit lucky.
Yes, however, he's going.
He dealt some damage thus far. It's down on 1 HP.
I mean, seeing how Krot plays this deck is so strange.
Okay, it's safe.
So many mediocre coordination.
Yeah.
Of fire support, and the tempo really lacks. But as you said, Razzmann, if the game would go a bit longer, right, and there would be a correct usage of all assets that this blue mega gives, right? The tanks and values of infantry, he might outgrind the Delta quite easily, to be honest, right? So that's a very good option that Milan is actually decided to do some shenanigans on the other flank. It's one of the best things to do with Eurocore Moto, just to switch flanks with your very effective flight units. And I think he's gonna get some value out of it, definitely.
Question is, will this value lend him some? I think if he doesn't really force either a lot of point investments into India or kill the CV, it won't be too successful. I think the big deal here is gonna be a Jumad, I reckon, against those MX-13s, MX-10, because if they get dealt with, the infantry isn't gonna do all too much either.
Definitely.
But yeah,
that being said, that MX-10 is pushing forward right into the Legion. And if that's gone, he might be able to overpower the Chumads.
For sure.
He can get close enough to the
Greyhound
Chumads.
also buying a CV into India now. This is spicy. This could also backfire though.
Yes, this is a bit too preemptive buy.
Incredibly preemptive. Because those Chasseurs, they have like little to no holding power against MX-10s. With their, even in Forest, right, with their 455 meter low range, low AP AT weapon, you have to get really lucky to actually kill something. That's more than 1 hour. But the Krot is just brute forcing this, right? He's just sacrificing infantry after infantry. He's slowly getting some damage, but no actual kills. And if Grant can keep up this infantry repairing, etc., which is really important against mech, then
he's been doing
should
a
be
wonderful
fine.
job with that, but
yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure that's like the second time those Fallschirmjäger are getting resupplied.
MX-13s opening up with their incredible rate of fire.
Chumad lacked the line of sight to deal with.
There it is, there it is.
Finally,
It is not getting spotted unless the MX-10 is not on attack move. Only some Roboid have skirmishing down there. There's still 4 Zeldas and 3 KFVs and a 2-pointer up there. And 2 K1s and an M1 Abrams. Okay, this is gonna be an assault on Alpha, and I think this is the right decision.
Alpha Rush. It's gonna be Alpha Rush, and I totally agree.
And this assault from Greyhound really doesn't seem to pay off. It was way too early with the CV. Legion 90 sniping the Hachiki is very, very important actually. Because it's, I think, a really strong unit against this, but it's gonna be tough to
make it into the town.
Yeah.
See a tiger
against
on
those panic for sure. Finally,
yeah. Took quite a while.
Especially with the Mistral dead down here in this forest. There's only the one down there, and the Mirage is just evacing. But yeah, LRM looks like it's still trying to snipe the Delta CV. Ooh, says Sarah coming in. Just in between them. Sapphire getting killed by Krot, I assume. Yes, but the Legion 90 squad died.
2 more.
And the Krot got sniped by the MX-10. CH-53 coming in to sponge for the Mistral, I assume. Or like, simply check if there's AA.
Test the defenses, yes.
He's gonna spot the CV.
Yes. But the thing is, with the Afterread, you can already snipe it with direct fire weapons, Peace Shrines, Tigers, stuff like that. Cesar. It's gonna eventually kill it if it's not gonna get repaired or removed or something, but in the long run, yeah. And yep, CV currently just 110 dead points, so that's really unfortunate. Little does he know that this is actually currently empty, so if you wanted to...
The attack is commencing, Charlie. Push to Alpha.
Oh, there we go. Probably just fast moving, which, can, and in this case, most likely will work. There's no LRM or something along those lines that can really stop like a full-on assault in one swipe with motorized. Something like even like a Napalm Mirage or something, which he doesn't have in his deck, couldn't really stop unless.
What's the AA situation with this push?
There's two Mistral squads, but I think no other AA. But keep in mind, there's still the Mirage ready for Krot.
Sure.
And Gapard being bought.
Greyhound swaying the 3 Declan's group down to Alpha.
Yeah, good choice as well. Pushing down here to get rid of that Azarid. Those Shumats just dealing with those Brennus, which get one shot to the side.
Krot also bought a preemptive CV for Alpha.
Yeah, but in this case, I think it's gonna be a lot more.
Yes, it's a lot more
Definitely gonna work out more for him than it did with the P4 down there. But India's gonna be more or less empty except for those reinforcements coming in now. So it is actually safe with 2 more CH-53s and 2 Prima Pirates.
That's an interesting.
Eventually, the
right?
Mistral will run out of ammo. But 4 Fashkin Jaeger squads pushing into Delta. And
Azarid is gonna be dead. K1 is
And
also
the K1
gonna
probably.
die. To either the Brennus or the Fallschirmjäger, I assume.
The amount of Jupiters to
I wonder
capture.
I wonder if Greyhound actually pushes there. That would be so nice to see.
Very interesting, very, very fluid game right now. So we see a trade of 2-pointer, but
Azarid is still alive down there.
the Greyhound was on initiative first, so he got that +5. It's amazing.
+5 is huge, but for how long?
Very questionable, yes. And the amount of forces in Alpha is really scary.
Oh, Milan doing
huge
Milan
trust
things and
issue.
not hitting at all.
That would have been absolutely huge.
It's just such a tease.
That red force in the Alpha is really scary. It's a really potent
very
group.
scary. Not just that, with the way Alpha works, right, you can more or less snipe a lot of reinforcements, unless Greyhound takes a long road, just like with those Legion 90 here. It's gonna take a long time to reinforce it. Even down here, you can see the MX-10 sniping that, because there's really nothing really dealing with them. There's Brennus.
So strategically, like the Krot is on top right now, and Greyhound is gonna lose the India very, very soon. There is a counterattack coming.
Tiger getting shotted by 5-pointers.
Which Greyhound cannot hold, and the Alpha is a goner, to be honest.
Yeah. What he really needed was at least those 2 Fallschirmjäger and 90 squads in the town up there. Then he probably could have held the town for long. Peace Run getting sniped by the Mirage. Yeah, 2 of those Fallschirmjäger and 90 squad would help massively in this town here. But of course, Greyhound didn't spot it early enough to tell him, early enough as well. LRM in a double stack trying to snipe, go for the town. There's not much really left. I mean, even if he tries to go for the CV snipe, he's also gonna, panic and stun all the infantry.
Oh, first missile.
First rocket killing that P4 CV. But yeah, I mean, it was inevitable to die. It could have technically also been down here next to the Brennus, but
even without the luck here, like this is the proper use of the LRM. You surround the enemy, you get him into the smaller patch when like the smaller area, then you just cover it with the artillery and the strong point. That's a very nice use of LRM.
Although I would have preferred if he didn't find position in the exact same spot. I think he could have stood up a bit more.
Tiger.
Yeah. I noticed. But there's the Mirage. Getting a ammo box hit and getting rid of those remaining hots and snaps that he still had.
In a weird way, that's actually pretty huge.
I mean, not in a weird way. It quite literally is pretty huge. Now it's now it's Krot with the +5 because he also sniped Foxtrot CV with the Zephyr.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of, but like, I think in the long run, Greyhound also invested a lot more into Delta than Krot did.
Yeah.
But I think it's really the India assault that was the big issue.
If this was like an initial plan, like from the Krot side, that they're just gonna try to show some presence in Delta, and then eventually like do it unexpected thrust into the Alpha. Man, it was a good planning, to be honest.
Yeah, if that was the plan, then that was very well or pretty well executed.
Yeah.
So yeah, the India assault really, and I think the other issue with the other assault. Yeah, but I think the other issue with Greyhound is he had the commandos power on the south, but he could have really just used them to spot reinforcements. He was so light in his 2-pointer for such a long time, and he had no way of seeing it coming, right? Because he had literally no eyes there. I think the least that he could have done is move those commandos power up to at least spot it earlier. Even if he had spotted it earlier, it probably still would have lost it, but would have had a better chance at least.
And in Delta, I think Greyhound could have been more aggressive here. He has pulled back cautiously quite a few times, which of course is easier said while commenting on the game in a replay than done in the game itself. But he could have gotten more value, disrupted more, probably gotten the town.
I think if you considered using CH53 much earlier, just for like probing, especially in Delta,
Yeah,
could have done a lot of stuff, because while there were 2 Rolands, they were like deep in the forest or fairly far behind, so they probably wouldn't really have gotten line of sight until he was like more or less right above the CV. So then he could have very easily seen that it was for basically nothing protecting the CV except for the K1s, which are damaged or something. But you know, could have, would have, should have.
But honestly, like the concealment of that push and the amount of points, like well, there are 2 things, right? Every time there is a being push prepared, you see some points concealed, you see some lacking points on the front. You can guess it usually, right? By an experienced player can feel that your opponent should be stronger than he is at the moment in terms of units. And the thing is, the mech deck can also create these powerful pushes, not that expensive. So it was easier for Greyhound to miss actually the lack of points on the field.
Yeah.
And to miss this blow, which came very strong because it's a mech deck that can create a pretty strong blow from kind of cheap.
Especially
even though this was like 600 point push or something like this.
Yeah, especially against a deck like Modo doesn't have access to like M1 Abrams' K1s, like cheap, efficient defensive units. So yeah, and I think Krot did have mistrust, but I think it was a bit sad to see the Tiger being used so late only. Maybe could have done some more work, especially in general with the airplay, but I assume that he was just, for one, because with Meg you have to expect manpads, and 2, the early Mirage maybe also scared him a bit to not use planes and helos this early on. But I think he just got too comfortable in mid. And this was actually very similar to a game that I played versus him in a tournament game like a long time ago, like 2 years or something, where I was also focusing on mid. I think it was with either Entente Mech or something like that, or Entente Mech. I was also pushing mid, similar to Krot, and then eventually I realized that doesn't work out, and it just did a 300-ish points push on his other 2-pointer and just completely rolled him over, and that lost him the game. Even though it was behind in kills, etc. for the first half or so. So I think he sometimes gets kind of like tunnel visioned too much.
Happens to the best of us.
I mean, yeah, we see that right here.
Quite literally to the best of us, yes.
So yeah, anything else to add?
No, just very, very, very nice and interesting game. I liked it. I really enjoyed watching this game.
A lot of show a lot how important macro is, not just, when people sometimes say it's all about like microing your super heavy and your smoke cloud, right? It's just as much, if not more, also about your actual game plan. Then not just how you utilize your individual units.
Yeah, and here the Krot showed us that he can do that very well.
Yeah, even if you don't really get a lot of use out of your LRMs until the last moments. So yeah, on to the next one then.
Definitely, let's go.
Here we go.